And we are live. What is going on, full-time family? This is going to be a show. It is the 14th of November. We'll probably be live for about 60 minutes to 90 minutes today. Talk a little bit about what's going on in the MMA world and some upcoming fights that have been recently announced. And you know what I'm saying? Have some fun. But we didn't do our original 5-minute countdown today, so we're going to give the full-time family a little bit of time to get into the building. And in the meantime, in between time, let's check out UFC Yankovic. Cardi B, Be Careful, Ioane on J-Check vs. Valentina Shevchenko remix. Make sure if you haven't yet, you check out UFC Yankovic on YouTube and subscribe there. That would be much appreciated. But yeah, man, let's do it. Be careful, Valentina, they're saying you're pretty confident, but here in MMA, I ain't the one that you want a problem with, so stop it, bitch. Or you wanna gon' have to drop a bitch. I ain't about to lose and go out like my homegirl Ronda did. But speaking of losing, how about you and Amanda Nunes? She beat you twice, and for this fight, she's teaching I'm the student, never truant. Cause I really wanna beat you, I'ma do it when I do. Please don't go to the media with excuses. I know you beat me in Muay Thai, but this is different. This is more than throwing punches, knees and kicks and clinching. This is more like war. These motherfucking chicks is vicious, and anything goes. I don't fear any of these hoes, not even Rose, Tatiana, Jessica Andrade, or Cyborg. If you're trying to frighten me, then you should try more. When we fight, we'll get it poppin' like July 4th. At UFC 231, you're gonna die, whore. It's the fight game that I adore. I gave up everything to fight these wars, to become the greatest fighter in the world. So I hope you get what you're paying for. Be careful with me. Do you know who you're fighting? About my legacy or about my striking? You might beat these other girls around the world, but they ain't nothing like me. Be careful with me. Yeah. It's not a threat, it's a warning. Be careful with me. Yeah, I'm writing some bad words and your name on a water bottle. Be careful with me. All right, man, that is enough of that. Let's get on with the show. We're going to get into the MMA news. I see Cam Murphy in the building, I believe. What's going on, full-time family? Who else is in here? We got Leon Dubison, Mr. Perfect 2005, family rolling in, Wolf Martin, Lion Jungle Pride. What's going on, everybody? Was wondering if we're going to have a show today. Yes, sir. I had some stuff I had to get done earlier. My girl's in the process of getting her license back and shit like that, so has to go retake the test and do a bunch of stuff, so I had to get that done earlier. But yeah, man, what's going on? It's time to talk some news. Have you guys seen this shit? Cowboy Cerrone says he's waiting on Conor McGregor for a potential fight. Yo, are you guys serious? Yo, I'm talking. There's so much. This fight is so fucking great for multiple reasons and multiple scenarios. I mean, for one, the style matchup. It would be fucking entertaining. It's a great style matchup. No one's looking to hold the other down. No one's looking to just get a win. So it'd be a great fight as far as the style matchup. I mean, of course, you could see Conor McGregor knocking out Donald Cerrone, just like a lot of people saw Mike Perry knocking out Donald Cerrone. But at the same time, I still think, just like I did with Mike Perry, I would honestly give an edge to Donald Cowboy Cerrone as far as the more well-rounded fighter. And of course, and when I say well-rounded, I mean he's going to have the better jiu-jitsu. Likely, if the fight were to end up on the mat, you of course give the edge to Cerrone, like I said about the Mike Perry fight. Probably has better kicks, you could say, as well than Conor McGregor. I mean, of course, Conor McGregor's up there with one of the greatest lightweights of all time. Well, I don't know. That's definitely debatable, but he's definitely up there with, you know what I'm saying, definitely was the champion, but just hasn't had as many fights at lightweight. But still, I mean, you can give him that nod. But either way, would this fight be at lightweight? If so, you might give the edge to McGregor. What about 170, where Cerrone's been fighting and he just, handled Mike Perry? He's been fighting the best welterweights in the world. But at the same time, we saw how Nate Diaz versus Donald Cerrone went, and of course, that's not always how MMA math works.
But I mean, Nate Diaz also beat McGregor, but at the same time, you could say McGregor's second fight was a better performance than Cerrone's first fight. But that's just everything you think about when you think about this fight. Oh, by the way, what if it happens at 165 pounds? Kick off the 165-pound division. McGregor versus Cerrone. 165 inaugural title. Boom. Fireworks. I mean, there's a lot that could happen with this. Is Donald Cerrone's a big star. I don't know if he's selling 3 billion pay-per-views. I don't know if that's what Conor's, wants, but if he's just looking for a good fight, we got your guy. So, with that being said, Donald Cerrone says, just waiting on him, I know a guy. Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone, waiting on him. I wonder if that means the UFC offered I would imagine, that would mean the UFC offered the fight if he says just waiting on him. I signed my end of the contract, so that's super dope. To start the stream off the right way, $2 in the super chat. Thank you very much, Mr. Perfect 2005. Much appreciated. Leon Dubson got to go. So gonna have to archive this one. Got to pop out quick, but I need early night tonight. When I get back. Have a good one, guys. Yo, salute to Leon Dubson. See you, man. Forward in the building says it's red panty night.
I'm gonna put him back to box.
Murrr. Let's go. Thank you very much, Mr. Perfect 2005. Poopoo Man says Cowboy has lost some fights that he could have won. Yeah, he could. I mean, he could have won, but he's been in a lot of tough fights. I mean, there's some fights you could say he could have won, but I mean, he's also been in some fights he could have lost that he ended up winning, right? Like the Matt Brown fight. He was down in that fight, got that knockout. So that goes both ways. But I hear you. Big up Blue Corner Gang says forward. What's going on? So yeah, Cerrone versus McGregor, that would be crazy. I mean, at any weight class, 155, 170, 165, I'm in. Justin Gaethje versus Anthony Pettis, another lightweight fight. Well, we don't know if that would be lightweight, but this would be between two lightweight contenders. Justin Gaethje versus Anthony Pettis, targeted for early 2019, and I gotta say this. Whew, Anthony Pettis, I don't know what you did to piss off the UFC. No, I'm just kidding. But Justin Gaethje is like a wrecking ball. Signing up to fight Anthony Pettis, I mean, that's something you do because you're not going to turn down a fight, but it's not something that you're happy about. Like, ooh, I get to fight Anthony Pettis or Justin Gaethje. I love it. You're not happy when they call your name to fight Gaethje, but definitely willing to take the fight. Being the warrior that he is. But boy, there's some better matchups out there, especially coming off of that fight with Tony Ferguson. Anthony Pettis, man, might not get the wins, but he definitely got your respect with the fights that he's willing to take at this point in his career. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's taking some tough fights where he can take some big damage. These fights like Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, same with Dustin Poirier, taking a fight with Justin Gaethje. Any of these dudes, I mean, this man is a fucking walking wrecking ball, and he's bringing the fight to you. Ain't gonna be no chess match. Ain't gonna be no. You're taking damage in a fight with Justin Gaethje, and there's no way around it. There ain't no picking him apart. None of that. You're taking some damage if you're fighting Justin Gaethje. That's facts. So, targeted for early 2019, that would be a hell of a fight, though. I mean, we'll see if Anthony Pettis can bounce back. But we just saw Justin Gaethje coming off that first round knockout over James Vick. He looked great in that fight. And even the fights that he lost before that, I mean, he was in some wars that he almost broke some of the best lightweight fighters in the world. And not broke them mentally, but broke their fucking bodies down with them leg kicks and just everything he brings, the pressure he brings in a fight. So, Gaethje's a monster. We'll see, though. Targeted for early 2019, definitely a fight, a can't-miss fight if it gets booked. Definitely one we will all be watching, so that would be super dope if it happens. We got Joe Rogan speaking on Cain Velasquez, saying he's still the best heavyweight he's ever seen. I mean, and that's saying a lot, right? Because we've got Stipe Miocic making noise, Daniel Cormier, who reclaimed the title, 13-0, now 14-0, reclaimed the title, undefeated at heavyweight. You got Fabricio Verdun, fucking monster, who was definitely in the conversation before his most recent, drug test failure and the loss. But either way, Fabricio Verdun, Fedor Emelianenko. there's a lot of guys that are talked about when you talk about heavyweight goats, and Joe Rogan's saying Cain Velasquez still gets the nod, and that's definitely something that we would hope we could see again in the octagon as far as Cain Velasquez and what he brings to the UFC and his heavyweight championship potential. I mean, his career's been plagued with injuries, which is unfortunate, but there's talks of him potentially coming back. Now we don't know if he is coming back to the UFC. I mean, maybe he's even gave signs and hints he might be going to the WWE. So we honestly don't know what's going on with Cain Velasquez. But as far as where he takes, as far as where he ranks in the heavyweight history, UFC heavyweight history, not even just UFC, Joe Rogan, he sides with Cain. He says, there's a thought with a 265-pound weight class, and the consensus thought seems to be somewhere around 240 pounds is the magic number. That's what they think. They think that 240 pounds is the amount of weight that you have where you're strong enough that you can knock out any man, but you have more endurance than a man that maybe weighs 265 pounds or heavier and cuts down to 265. Now, this has not been substantiated. The problem is that there hasn't been a super powerful world championship athlete that weighed 265 pounds. And that's where these motherfuckers like Greg Hardy, and not Greg Hardy, but someone else, like one of these NFL, NBA type athletes that starts like a John Jones, like a fucking John Jones. Think about a heavyweight John Jones. That's what we're talking about here. But someone that would cut to 265, it'd be insane. Like, yeah, man. So he said it's hard to say because there's never been a 265-pound version of Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, in my humble opinion, when I look at all these different heavyweights that I've personally seen fight, and that's a lot because Joe Rogan's fucking been watching fights since before probably any of us listening to this show, commentating fights probably before a lot of us been watching fights. So he says, in my humble opinion, when I look at all the different heavyweights that I've personally seen fight, Cain stands out as the best. He said the reason why Cain stands out as the best is because he has superhuman endurance and his ability to put a pace on guys. You would see those guys just wilt under the pressure. I think with Cain, and this is where it gets really interesting, what did him in also brought him to the top? His mental toughness. His body started breaking down. He started having all these back injuries. He needed back surgery, multiple back surgeries, shoulder surgery, knee surgery. Everything was getting fucked up, and I think it was getting fucked up because he was working through pain, and he has the ability to tolerate pain that most people don't have. He's just a fucking animal, but that's also probably what led him to having his insane endurance. It's the same kind of mental toughness. It's popcorn stamina. No, I'm just kidding. What's going on? Stamina MC in the building. Gary Kendrick Jr., what's going on, brother? Poo Poo Man in here. What's going on, everybody? RDA just did it the best, and everyone else started to be able to do the same to him, says Poo Poo Man. Hell yeah, man. Pettis has been figured out even before RDA fight when he lost to Clay Guida, says Poo Poo Man. Okay. What are you guys' thoughts on Cain Velasquez? You guys think he can make a UFC return? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody would like to see it, but man, those injuries have definitely plagued him. And, some people pointed out, it wasn't just Cain Velasquez back at the time getting injured. There was a lot of people in his fight team, and I believe AKA at the time, they had really a stigma for their fighters getting injured. And you know what I'm saying? I think they've actually changed things up because that's definitely not been the case as of late. I mean, really, as far as injuries, I can only think of like one time they've had a fighter pull out recently, and they were, other than that, AKA definitely hasn't been having a lot of fighter injuries. So, yeah, man. But also the mental toughness that Joe Rogan talks about. That, you know what I'm saying? That'll do it too. Fighting through injuries and not taking the proper time off and coming right back or any of that. Just training through injuries, not getting your surgeries, and that definitely will fuck up your body. That mental toughness at times. So, heck yeah, man. Heavier Mendez, he changes training. What's good, brother? Forward says. Came and stand with the heart. Poo Poo, man, that's got a ring to it. Bob Cratchit says Pettis was cursed by the Wheaties box just like Bruce Jenner and the rest of the unfortunate souls that end up on the rectangle of doom. Yo, the Wheaties sponsorship, body armor, man. We'll see if they can get it back together. That's just interesting. That's crazy. Like the few people that were spokesmen for body armor that you think about, they all like lost. Cody Garbrandt, Francis Ngannou, Craziness. And then it's funny because they weren't really interested in doing a deal with Sean O'Malley because his openness with weed. And then Cynthia Calvillo messes around and pops for weed. It's like, ain't that crazy? My dog, Mr. Perfect in the building. So yeah, Cain Velasquez still the best heavyweight as far as Joe Rogan is concerned. Who do you guys think is the best heavyweight? Let's talk about that. I wasn't really around in Fedor's prime for me to give the edge to Fedor. That's more of just a respect thing, respecting the legends of the sport. So my opinion isn't Fedor, but I wasn't really around when he was kicking his ass. I have done the research and looked at who he was fighting, and if you weren't there in the moment, you don't really see it. You know what I'm saying? Because I look at it kind of analytically sometimes, like, who have you fought? What is their records? And I take it a step deeper sometimes. Like, okay, you fought a guy that was 10-2, but who did he get those 10 wins over? You know what I'm saying? So I dig a little deeper sometimes. And when I do my research on Fedor and stuff like that, the strength of schedule wasn't really there for me. So if you're not there in the moment, you don't really give him the edge. But you look at a guy like Stipe Miocic, who, was definitely, he cracked the UFC record in most heavyweight title defenses. That means something. He beat a lot of the best guys, but he has been hurt in fights, and I don't know if you could say Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time right now. Cain Velasquez definitely is up there. He just demolished fucking guys, whooped their ass. He's definitely up there. UFC champion, he's up there, but I don't know. Let's look at Cain Velasquez's resume real quick. Cain Velasquez. Ken Murphy says, I think Stipe or DC. Mr. Perfect 2005 says, honestly, I believe Cain or DC. It's a toss-up for our going off-record DC. DC's a good one. It's just hard to call. You know what I'm saying? For heavyweight, a guy that fought at light heavyweight, it's hard to give it to him, but he's undefeated at heavyweight. But I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to give it to DC still because, in my opinion, but he did knock out Stipe. So if you give the edge to Stipe, that gives DC the case. I do think DC's got a great case, but it's hard, being that light heavyweight champ. When he won that Strikeforce Grand Prix, he was actually the alternate, I believe, and stepped in for someone injured and won it. But either way, it's still impressive. Still beat guys like Frank Mir. Roy Nelson. Yeah, he's definitely up there. What the hell is this? This is not the Cain Velasquez I'm looking for. I'm looking for his UFC profile. The hell you guys got going on? Interesting. I guess we'll go to Shirt Off. So, Cain Velasquez, of course, got submitted by Fabricio Verdum, knocked out by JDS, but other than that, man, smashed JDS in the rematch, fought Travis Brown in his last fight at UFC 200. Bigfoot Silva, JDS again, Bigfoot Silva, Lesnar. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's definitely up there. He definitely had some amazing performances. But I guess it would depend on where you ranked Bigfoot Silva. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that goes into it. He's up there. But then you got his teammate Daniel Cormier. You got somebody like Fabricio Verdum, who I definitely had up there, man. He lost to Stipe, but before that, holy smokes. Look what this guy was doing outside the UFC, in Pride. Starting early. Sergey Karatonov was his first loss early in 2005. Beat Alistair Overeem 2 fights later. Beat Fedor's little brother. Of course, he had a couple losses, but this is heavyweight. That's going to happen, except for if you're DC. Beat Fedor's little brother. Gabriel Gonzaga. Brandon Vera. Lost to JDS back here. Beat Fedor. Bigfoot Silva. Lost to Overeem. So, he's put in a lot more work. Travis Brown, Mark Hunt, Cain Velasquez, Antonio Nogueira. Roy Nelson, Travis Brown, Walt Harris, Marcin Tibura. He's put in a lot more work. So, yeah, it's just a conversation that, it's probably always going to be arguable. Daniel Cormier's undefeated at heavyweight. He's undefeated. never lost. How do you not give it to Cormier? And their teammates, that's what's crazy. So I don't know. It's a tough call. Maybe, I don't know. Cormier's going to be the only guy that's undefeated, but he hasn't put in as much work as a Fedor or a Fabricio Verdum or maybe even a Stipe Miocic. I don't know. Maybe I say it's got to be Cormier, Velasquez, or Verdum. I like Verdum a lot, man. He lost some of those big fights, and he just recently failed the drug test. So, are we talking about natty goats? You go Velasquez, Stipe, or DC? Yeah, Mr. Perfect 2005. Good point. Yeah, man. Verdum's resume is really impressive, but the drug test failures, yeah, the failure, that was unfortunate. Gary Kendrick Jr. says, I just haven't seen enough domination for him to call him the best. Made his name off of JDS and Brock Lesnar, and that's about it. Yeah, JDS, Brock Lesnar. Yes, JDS, the trilogy, that's really, as far as the legacy is concerned, there's Rothwell down here, and definitely not as much work put in. So, but I'm not mad at the argument, though. Definitely could hear any argument for those. So, we got some other fights announced, though. But we'll talk about those after this. Nevada State Athletic Commission adopted the new unified rules of MMA. Excludes the grounded fighter rule. I mean, I think this is going to make it less confusing for everybody, everywhere. I mean, there's Nevada rules, New York Commission rules. Fucking, you want to fight in Utah, they probably got their own rules. You go to fucking UFC. Where did Bisping and Gastelum fight? Shanghai. They got their own commission with their own rules, and you know what I'm saying? The unified rules of MMA, and I don't know who made the unified rules of MMA, but that would just make it a lot less confusing, not only for fans, but also for fighters, right? They got to follow the rules. So, well, I can knee him in this state. Over here, I can't knee him right here. So it's like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? You know what I'm saying? And you get some unified rules everywhere. And I don't know, since it's commissioned or state-based, I don't know who would be in charge of these rules. But maybe we can read, you can learn more about it. But it looks like Nevada State Athletic Commission has adopted the new unified rules. It says, Nevada, obviously, thanks to Las Vegas, has always been one of the most popular MMA states and gets visited several times a year by the UFC, which is what made it so puzzling that the state waited so long finally to catch up with the times after the new rules were introduced at the start of 2017. It says the primary difference between the old and the new rules effectively comes down to dominance, damage, impact caused in fights, along with some technical things. Ooh, this is interesting. I kind of like this. Because just as a fan, and I don't know, maybe fighters would disagree, but as a fan, I kind of like fights damage having an impact on the fights. Because if you're a fan and you're watching a fight like Bisping versus Dan Henderson, and you're looking at the damage, you're like, what the fuck did the judges just score? And, so just as a fan, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe he punched him 3 more times in round 2 and then punched him 5 more times in round 1, and maybe the judges like that he came forward in the first half of the round. I kind of like the damage thing. It makes it a lot easier to see. Now, if you're a guy like a Nate Diaz, though, or somebody with scar tissue or whatever, and you get busted open a lot easier or cut a lot easier, you probably don't want a fight to be scored on damage, right? If you're somebody that cuts less, you don't take as much damage, you're probably going to love these rules. But if you're somebody that gets cut easily, this isn't going to help you much. But as a fan, I'm like, okay, now we actually see the winner instead of wait to see, what are the judges scoring for it tonight? You know what I'm saying? So I do like damage having more of a say on what happens in the fight. But yeah, so we'll see where that goes. I'll keep you guys updated the more we learn on the situation. But I definitely like the idea of unified rules for sure, because you know what I'm saying? It lets you know, for one, what you're watching for, what's being scored for, but also what's legal, what's illegal, is this legal here? I mean, that's probably less confusing also for the fighters, so that's dope. Now, After losing out on the Cody Garbrandt fight, Jimmy Rivera and Rafael Assuncao agree to fight. Now, I'm not too surprised by this booking, but the bantamweight division is a little logjammed at this point, especially even more now so with the announcement of TJ Dillashaw versus Henry Cejudo. But you still got Cody Garbrandt and Dominic Cruz up there ahead of these guys. And I fear, even if Rivera knocks out Assuncao, or even if Assuncao knocks out Rivera, you guys still are behind Cruz and Garbrandt. Now, with that's because they're the former champions, and Garbrandt not so much. Garbrandt not so much if you're talking about a title shot. But I'll tell you this much: if Dominic Cruz was next and he beat T.J. Dillashaw, you would either be looking at a trilogy, or you would be looking at Cruz versus Garbrandt too. It's just not looking too bright, in my opinion, from my view, for Rivera or Assuncao as far as the title shot is concerned. I mean, you got to make a statement win here, and then still it's kind of coming down to politics, I would assume. And shit, it was coming down to that, even if you were trying to get the fight over Dominic Cruz. Now you got to wait for Cejudo versus Dillashaw. And if Cejudo wins, you probably got a way better case. Unless he wants to fight Dominic Cruz or give TJ a rematch. But if TJ wins, these guys still got to see if he wants to fight Dominic Cruz next. Maybe the UFC makes his ass fight one of these dudes. Like, hey, you got the champion versus champion super fight. We ain't doing no picking and choosing. I tell you what, you know what would be nice? You have Dillashaw versus whoever wins this fight. Let's just say Rivera for the sake of things. Dillashaw versus Rivera on the same card as Garbrandt versus Cruz 2. I mean, it would work. But the thing is, what if TJ wins and Cody wins? So maybe not. I don't know. I'm just having a little fun with the matchmaking. Stamina MC says, my man Crush Monday, Luke Thomas, spoke on this eloquently on the unified rule malarkey. Well, boom. That's exactly who we should be listening to on this subject anyway. Someone like Luke Thomas. Way smarter than I am. Forward says, Assuncao is in his record 8th straight #1 contender series fight. This dude ain't sniffing the belt. I know and if Assuncao knocks out Rivera, you still got to say, well, you still got to wonder. It's the same situation, so he might be in another #1 contender fight after that. Poo Poo Man says Verdum was landing less, but the effectiveness of the shots was clear. He both Kane's head and back while Kane was landing more, but Verdum was eating Kane's shots. Good conversation, man. Greatest heavyweight of all time. Now, man, my motherfucking boy, and I don't even know why, man. This was more when I was getting reintroduced to MMA. I just became a fan of Louis Smolka. Like, literally, he's just somebody I attached to. Like, yo, I like this guy. And it was around the time that Max Holloway became one of my favorite fighters. The moment that he was fighting fucking Ricardo Lamas and he pointed down at the floor, that's immediately when Max Holloway became my favorite fighter, one of my favorite fighters. And then he also called out for UFC Hawaii on the microphone, and I was like, yo, let's get my man to Hawaii. And, there was the talks of, well, yeah, it don't make all the sense. And I was like, okay, maybe if we get a lot of Hawaiian fighters, and there was at the time who were having success. I believe Louis Smolka was on a winning streak. It was a couple years ago, clearly. Of course, you got Yancy Medeiros. Of course, you got Brad Tavares. There's a lot of Hawaiian talent. They were all doing well. Smolka was, needed to probably win his fight. He lost, unfortunately. But at that time, I became a fan of Smolka because I was just rooting for Hawaiian fighters to get a UFC Hawaii, essentially. Pretty much for my boy Max Holloway. That's how we came to it. And so, Louis Smolka went on like a fucking 3-4 fight losing streak. I was like, damn. That deflated me a little. Like, well, so much for that. And then he actually got released by the UFC. But his losses, though, they were ones that still made you a fan. Like, in one of them, you could tell he was just fucking drained coming in to make weight. He literally was a professional, and instead of stopping 3 pounds early, he fucking killed himself almost, you know what I'm saying, to make weight. He did it. He made weight, and it took everything. And then his opponent, I believe it was Ray Borg in that fight, missed weight for the fight. And it was like, so he actually did what he needed to do instead of coming in heavy and made weight, and his opponent missed weight. And so I was like, man, I was already rooting for Smoker because that, like, oh, come on, man. He's drained. This dude just missed weight. And then Smoker lost the fight. And I think Ray Borg was like calling for a title shot or something. This was clearly before his title shot. And he was like talking, and I was thinking, at that point, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He missed weight. Smoker killed himself making weight, and you're calling for a title shot, and you didn't even dominate the fight? Like, that's where I was as a fan at that point. And so Smoker went on to lose a few more. But then he left the UFC and I think won a couple, and now he's back. And he's taking on somebody with a very interesting name. Darji. I think he's got the same first and last name. Let me make sure all the letters are the same because I can't pronounce either one. Sumu Darji. Yeah, he's got the same first and last name. And he's fighting Louis Smoker in his return to the UFC. Smoker, 14-5, heads into his UFC return on a 3-fight win streak, finishing all of his opponents in the process. There we go. Boom. Left UFC 3-fight win streak and finished all of them. Let's go. We know Smoker belongs here. Just had a couple, some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Some bullshit happened. So it says he's going to be taking on Sumu Darji, 10-3, who's set to make his UFC debut after coming off a submission loss to Mahal Ben last month at WLF Wars 28. The 22-year-old is 9-2 in his last 11 fights and has won all of his fights by stoppage. Okay, that's going to be a fun fight. Potential stoppage there. And it's going down at UFC Beijing with Blades versus Ngannou headlining the card. I'll definitely be watching that card for sure. Yeah, that's a good card. Where's my boy Israel A. Yadong at? Our boy Song Yadong's fighting. Ling Jialing versus David Zawada. This is definitely a card I'm looking forward to. Alex Morono on the joint. Lauren Mueller versus Juan Yanan. I mean, Rashad Coulter taking on this dude I don't know too much about, but I know Rashad Coulter. Jessica Aguilera, and I don't mean I know him personally. Jessica Aguilera, Weili Zhang, Siri Kondo. Nice, some WMMA fights here. Kevin Holland, John Phillips. Martin Day versus Li Ping Yan. Smoker versus Samjari, same name. Okay. We'll take it. We will take it. So, yeah, man, Louis Smoker making his UFC return, and that he's got fighting a guy that's fought to a finish in all 11 of his last fights, so this could potentially be a finish. Could be a fun fight to watch, and I'll be rooting for Smoker. You can bet that. What else we got? A couple more things to talk about. Benson Henderson re-signs with Bellator. That's how we're going to end the show. Bellator. I'm repping Bellator. Hey. But yeah, so Benson Henderson re-signing with Bellator, former WEC and UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson fighting out of the MMA lab with the likes of Sean O'Malley. Oh, and I can't do that. I can't play the MMA lab. They got so many fucking beasts. They got Benson Henderson. Of course, the coach Tim Welch. Of course, that's a bye because I knew that one already. Man, they just had a fucking killer fight recently, dude, out of the MMA lab. One of you guys got to remind me. If you guys get it, you get points. Who recently just got a mean-ass finish out of the fucking MMA lab, guys? Is his name Austin something? Someone's got to tell me this. I can't let this slide. I fucks with the MMA lab heavy. Who? Somebody, one of you MMA fans, you got to know this. Let me know right now. You casual or you hardcore? Who was fighting out of the MMA lab? Mean ass. I don't know why Austin Tweedy's coming to my mind. Mean ass finish. Someone else fought there though. One of their vets. Man, let me look up MMA lab, dude, because I'm slipper slacking on my pimping. MMA lab fighters. We're about to put a spotlight on the MMA lab. I fucks with them pretty heavy. MMA lab about us. Can you tell? I know Mackenzie Dern used to, but she recently. Yeah, I guess that'd probably be pretty you know, rude to just like, oh, meet our trainers. John Crouch, a beast. Jarrett Akai, Eddie Cha, Benson Henderson, Chris, I don't even want to fuck up his last name, Joe Murphy. Any of you guys got his name yet? Motherfuck. No. Maria Henderson, Rob Emerson, Michael De La Torre, he's a beast. Tim Welch, Beast. Skylar Hollingsworth. Beast. I don't even know him, but Beast. Jeff Cook. Okay. Bobby Moffitt. He just fought. He's beat Chad Skelly. He just fought. Courtney Casey. There we go. We're getting to some of the beasts from the MMA lab. There we go. Adam McConnett. Cliff Jordan. Beast. Jawan Lee. You know he's fucking shit up. And Moses Diaz. Let's get it. Yeah, we fucks with them heavy. Over here at Full Time MMA. What, Michael? My brother just said some shit. What? Oh, maybe he's going to get the kids from school, his kids or some shit. Oh, well. So, yeah, Benson Henderson re-signing with Bellator. Now, why is this interesting? Because Bellator's not the only big players, right? We know UFC could have re-signed him, won championship. LFA's got $1 million tournaments going on and shit. There's a lot of places fighters can go nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Shit, if I'm Benson, I might be taking a look-see over at that PFL. Well, Benson Henderson, he's probably got a sweet deal with Bellator. He might make more than $1 million, actually. Not every fight, but he's probably got a pretty sweet deal with sponsors and shit like that. He's probably cool. He's cool with Bellator. But I'm just saying, any other free agents, though, they can sign with PFL, fight for the milli over there, a cool $1 million, fight, you know what I'm saying? Or you can go to one championship with Demetrius Johnson and the flyweights and Miesha Tate, the vice president, and you can. I'm just saying, there's options now for these free agents. So it's big that he signed with Bellator. I'm glad. I'm sure they would have loved to keep him. He's definitely out. I'm glad to see him re-sign with Bellator. But with all these other players in the MMA game, you can never be too sure at this point. You know what I'm saying? So that's dope. I'm looking forward to see where he's at in his next couple of fights. I know he just got back with a big win, I believe. And he lost a couple split decisions before that in Bellator. I mean, he lost some fights. I think 2 or 3 fights in a row, but there's a couple split decisions in there. Let's pull up my man Benson Henderson's record. Pause. Benson Henderson. People don't put enough respect on Benson's name, man. Yeah, he lost 2 fights in a row, both split decisions. Just beat Sada Wad, Roger Huerta, beat Patricio Pitbull, lost to Koreshkov, but before that he beat fucking Jorge Masvidal. And anyone that beats Jorge Masvidal in my book is a fucking savage. Even though it was a split decision, don't matter. You fight to a split decision with Jorge Masvidal, you're okay in my books. That's beast right there. Lost to Cerrone and RDA, but yeah, no. Benson's a beast. His 2 losses were both split decisions. And honestly, if those split decisions went his way, he'd be on a 5-fight win streak right now and probably even Bellator's lightweight champion. So, fucks with your boy, Benson Henderson. Michael Flowry, South Boston in the motherfucking building. What's going on, Michael Flowry? Salute to South Boston. Cool the Fool says, you look like a man who's in the middle of rolling a blunt full time. That's interesting, Cool the Fool. Because I happen to be a man in the middle of rolling a blunt. Good call. Good call. You spotted that one. What a call. But yeah, man, we don't got too much more news, so I don't even know if I'm going to be smoking this jit on the stream. Hell of a call by Cool the Fool. Yo, Cool the Fool, I thought you were a wrench gang, bro. They already say I got too many people in the wrench gang. All right, man, we're ready. But what's crazy is, I think we only got like one more thing to talk about, unless there's some other shit y'all want to talk about. Any other news that came up? Bellator champ Patricio Freire would offer his own brother in a trade for Jose Aldo. Yo, Liddy Bagitty. I would trade my brother for a couple things. I was just fucking around, but yo, a trade for Aldo, and it's not like a shitty thing. It's actually a great idea. That would get my brother an opportunity in the UFC. It's not like I'm saying I would want my brother to lose his job. I'm saying in a trade with the UFC, which would be dope because my brother would get to fight in the UFC, which is not like that's just terrible, a terrible thing. But in a trade with the UFC, I would love to get Jose Aldo over here. So that would actually be dope, even though he's offering up his brother. But he said, there are many guys that are expensive and don't make much sense anymore. Well, I guess since you called it, man, anyway, I was going to light it anyway. Let's talk about this. What the fuck did I just hear downstairs? Who's downstairs? I don't know if my nigga left my niece down here or what's going on. Probably a dog. All right. With that being said, he says, and this, of course, is Patricio Pitbull says, he knows that Aldo's much more popular than him in Brazil, noting the fact that his countryman has defended his UFC title multiple times on Brazilian soil. Pitbull still thinks Aldo is as tough as he's ever been, and though he doesn't hold the featherweight belt anymore, he says, but he hasn't evolved, so I think he wants to fight him. I'm sure he would love to, you know, take the crown from Jose Aldo, Brazilian mixed martial arts. He still wouldn't take the crown, but I'm sure he would love to challenge her, so probably came up idolizing that dude low-key. But he said, there are many guys that are expensive and don't make much sense anymore. Ben Henderson, for example, he didn't have a good run in Bellator, but still is a top fighter. Has had good fights and just submitted Roger Huerta. But it doesn't make much sense for Bellator to pay him that much money. King Mo is another one, he says. He said it doesn't make sense for Bellator to pay him that much money. Yo, he's low-key taking bow, curveball shots. Well, maybe not. That's what I saw. But Benson Henderson, they fought in the past. They might fight again, but he's saying Benson Henderson hasn't had a great run in Bellator, and he fucking isn't really, you know, he would understand if they didn't want to pay him that much money. But we just looked at Benson Henderson's record. My nigga, he's 3-3, but 2 of these are splits. He could easily be 5-1 in Bellator right now. Now, 3-3 is not the most sexiest, but 5-1 would be pretty good. And actually, this is Patricio talking. He's got a win over Patricio as well. Leg injury, but I'm just saying, put some respect on Benson's name. Unless you're trying to get a rematch. You know what I'm saying? He said, how about beating up their lightweight division and putting my brother there? He's a knockout artist, never lost to a UFC fighter, and knocked everyone except Benson Henderson. How about that? Oh, shit, son. That would be dope, bro. One of the Pitbull brothers in the UFC. Bellator. Call Dana. Make it happen. He said, first of all, I would like to point out that it's not jealousy. I'm only stating facts here. Some people say I should go to the UFC and be considered the greatest featherweight, and I disagree with some points. You can't take numbers and facts into consideration. There are many things that get overlooked. Someone compared my opponents to Aldo's, and my opponents had more wins than losses when we fought. And there's also the way we got to the belt. I never had a belt handed to me as a gift. After the UFC merged with the WEC, he became the champion in a ceremony. I never had something handed to me that easily. Pitbull fought 19 times inside the Bellator cage, it says. And this is, of course, an article on MMA fighting, so salute to them while I'm just reading the article. Normally, I just get the quotes, but Guilherme Cruz wrote this, so check out MMA fighting if you want to see the full article. He says, Pitbull fought 19 times inside the Bellator cage. The combined records of his opponents by the time they fought is 339 and 73. Aldo fought 12 times in the octagon, and his opponent's record combined at the same time was 203 and 48. If you also consider Aldo's 8 WEC bouts, his opponent's records get closer to Frere's at 323 to 70 and 5. So actually, it's really similar. You know, so in the UFC, that was only 12 fights. If you're looking at 19 fights, Jose Aldo, that would be 20. Yeah, they're actually really similar. And Aldo, you could say, it was clearing out the UFC, which is a little more impressive. But he says, I was never submitted or knocked out. Every time he lost 4 times, he was finished. No one ever made me quit. I have 3 losses, decision losses. 2 of those were controversial split decisions. My record could easily only have 1 loss when I injured my leg against Henderson. I think Jose Aldo's a great fighter and has a great history. No one can deny that, but many people think I should go to Bantamweight because I'm too small. And instead, I went to 155 to fight someone who came up as a top contender in the UFC. I was beating Ben Henderson before getting injured. Aldo won't fight at 155 because he doesn't want to. He had many offers to do so. Aldo's longest winning streak was 18. Damn, he's laying it out. This motherfucker got the facts. He said Aldo's longest winning streak was 18. If you don't consider my 2 controversial split decision losses, I would have won 24 in a row. Now, this is interesting because this is the same guy who was talking about Benson Henderson not having a great run because of his 2 split decision losses. But just what I'm pointing, just what I thought about. He said I would have 24 in a row. I left Brazil to fight an American with American judges in the United States and had 2 defeats in fights I don't think I lost. We know in the UFC is 25 years old. Bellator has only been around since 2008. But the fact that someone fights in the UFC, Bellator, WSOF, whatever, doesn't mean he's better or worse. It only means he's under contract with that promotion. Conor McGregor became a monster in the UFC, but he was already a star in other promotions. So yeah, man, he laid it down. He's making his case to potentially fight Jose Aldo, and he's even saying he'd offer a potential trade for his brother, who could get an opportunity in the UFC. So I don't think it's impossible for this fight to happen, but I ask myself, Aldo has said bad things about Bellator in the past, but Bellator can pay him more than he gets paid in the UFC. I wonder what matters for him the most, fame or knowing that he really is the best fighter on the planet. I ask myself that because he once said that he wouldn't go to the second division. Who said Bellator is the second division? It's not. Now, with that being said, if you want to prove you're the best featherweight on the planet, you gotta beat Max Holloway, not Patricio Pitbull or Patricky Pitbull. You gotta beat Max Holloway, and if you really want to, you can go up and maybe fight Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do. But if you're trying to get a fight with Aldo, you make the case otherwise. So it is what it is, man. We will see. Perry versus Lobov. Once Perry's arm is reattached, says Bob Cratchit. Oh shit, we got a super fight. For Western Civilization, says Mike Perry didn't lose much from the fight with Cowboy, maybe his arm. Lawler's fighting Askren, I thought, says Bob Cratchit. I mean, that was in the plans. I don't think it's official yet, but that definitely was the plans. For Western Civilization, says 26 people watching, only 10 likes. The math don't add up. Clearly, there's a bunch of people biting their bagels, so once you guys are finished biting your bagels, don't be a bagel biting bitch boy. Smash the thumbs up button like your middle name is Khabib, and fuck it. Like it's your, I already said your last name, damn. Like it's your dog's name too, fuck it. I'm hot. For Western Civilization says Aldo is already very rich where he lives. Hell yeah, man. Let's see, I gotta do my predictions I'll probably do those tonight. For we got UFC Buenos Aires coming up this Saturday. I'm about to be getting out of here too, so later to the family who's leaving. Later Stamina leaving. Full-timers, I got to get prepared for radio. Just arrived. Catch y'all later. Later, Stamina, man. Tell me the station. I'm going to be tuning in. I'm about to play some of Stamina's music, y'all. We got to check it out. Got to Google Stamina MC. He's spitting them hot bars. I'm going to play some on the show if he gives me the permission. But yeah, man. What happened to Henry Barral? Says Gary Kidrick Jr., most padded record ever. TJ took his soul. That last fight was real fucking disappointing, man. He lost to Andre Uwu, who was making his UFC debut. Yeah, good question, brother. Good question. Mr. Perfect said, should be one less bagel. I just put mine down, fam. Hell yeah. Well, I looked at it a little bit yesterday. Let's go to UFC.com before we get out of here. We'll check out UFC Buenos Aires because I got to break this card down tonight anyway. Then we'll get on out of here. The UFC changed their whole website, clearly. You guys see the new UFC website? Oh, shit. That's the next pay-per-view. Save these dates. I like it. This is actually really dope. The new era. Oh, shit. Ponzinibbio versus Magny. Full details. Yo, this is lit. You guys see this new UFC website? This is dope. Main card. Oh shit, it's all different. Magny versus Ponzinibbio. Lamas versus Elkins. Khalil Roundtree versus Johnny Walker. Hey, I like this shit. This shit is looking smooth. Pause. Cesar Ferreira versus Tom Breeze. Guido Canetti versus Marlon Vera. Cynthia Calvillo versus Poliana Botello. Let's go to the prelims. Michelle Prazeres versus Bartosz Fabinski. Alejandra Pendoja versus Oka Sasaki. Humberto Bendenay versus Austin Arnett. Loriano Starapoli versus Hector Aldana. And then we got the early prelims. Devin Powell versus Jesus Pinedo. And Nad Narimani versus Anderson Dos Santos. A lot of good fights on the card, man. Definitely looking forward to breaking that down. Bob Cratchit says will be a lot of finishes on that card. Faux show, man. Khalil Roundtree, Johnny Walker, Lamas versus Elkins. Magny, Ponzinibbio, potentially. A lot of good fights. So, yeah, man, that's really all I got. So, with that being said, we're about to get out of here. We're going to get out of here the same way we came in here. UFC 231, the next pay-per-view. I still got to... Man, see, it's when I'm feeling like writing something. Like, you know, when I'm feeling like making something. I don't just be like, okay, I got to make this song. Let me go do it. You know, I don't ever force it. It's just like, hey, I feel like writing some shit. And I do it when I'm listening to music. So, I want to make the Valentina Shevchenko response. And I've already got, like, if it's to the same beat, some ideas. But, nah, you know, I just ain't really got up to it yet. So, I'll probably do that, though. Joanna versus Valentina is going to be a big fight. And, I mean, I don't only want to make a song for the losing side, right? So, with that being said, you guys, we'll get back to the show tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? What's tomorrow? Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday? I think tomorrow's Thursday. We'll be back, guys. Hopefully, I'll have these fights broken down, predicted, fake money, all that shit over on Patreon for the family. So, thank you guys for checking this out. With that being said, we're about to get out of here. It is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. Wait, why can't I hear this? Oh, I got the wrong thing.
Be careful, Valentina, they're saying you're pretty confident, but here in MMA I ain't the one that you want a problem with, so stop it, bitch, or you wanna gon' have to drop a bitch. I ain't about to lose and go out like my homegirl Ronda did. But speaking of losing, how about you and Amanda Nunes? She beat you twice, and for this fight she's teaching I'm the student, never truant, cause I really wanna beat you, I'ma do it when I do. Please don't go to the media with excuses. I know you beat me in Muay Thai, but this is different. This is more than throwing punches, knees and kicks and clinching. This is more like war. These motherfucking chicks is vicious, and anything goes. I don't fear any of these hoes, not even Rose, Tatiana, Just Andrade, or Cyborg. If you're trying to frighten me, then you should try more. When we fight, we'll get it poppin' like July 4th. At UFC 231, you're gonna die, whore. It's the fight game that I adore. I gave up everything to fight these wars, to become the greatest fighter in the world. So I hope you get what you're paying for. Be careful with me. Do you know who you're fighting? About my legacy or about my striking? You might beat these other girls around the world, but they ain't nothing like me. Be careful with me. Yeah. It's not a threat, it's a warning. Be careful with me. Yeah, I'm writing some bad words and your name on a water bottle. Be careful with me. Be careful with me. Shout out to the full-time family. Be careful with me.
My favorite part.
Support us on Patreon or PayPal. Links are in the description. Be careful with me.